The other system file that's used very commonly is the GenCode file. So let's say here we have outside sales reps. If you want to control what data can be put into a field, you can set up a GenCode table, and that GenCode table says this field can only have these values in it. I showed you yesterday, this one over here doesn't have that, but we could set up a GenCode table, and let's do that. And the table name is F5422. So we can go over here to the GenCode Manager. We can say insert F5422. Call it the territory table. And now we can put values and say Northeast, Southeast. Now if we went back over to this, and we hit F3, we would see that we are now restricted to only those two values are allowed in this field. Once the field is set up, if we're a SysOp, we can actually edit the table in C2 and say Southwest, like that, apply, and now those are the values. Now, one of the things that you have to be careful with is if you create a GenCode table on a field, you now have a situation that those are the only valid entries for that. One of the things that Stream does, whenever you save a record, it validates all of the data in that record and any parent records. So if we take a sales order, for example, a parent record for a sales order is the company record. So if we were to go into a sales order now that had a parent company record that did not have one of these entries in the territory, we would not be able to save that sales order because we have invalid data in a parent record. And that's a really important thing to know, because you can bring your whole system to a screeching halt by setting up a validation record for a customer record or a catalog record without going through and making sure that all of the catalog records or customer records have valid data in them. That's a really important thing to emphasize, that you can really shoot yourself in the foot by saying, I want this restricted to these values, and not having values in the actual data. So I've got to be real careful with that. So I'm going to go over to the GenCode and now delete these records, because otherwise I will have shot myself in the foot. Oh, it tells me I got to zoom in, delete it. It says, okay, I got to delete the table entries first. So I go into here. Now this warns you here, if you delete a code that you have in use, you will disable use of some records till you update them. So if I delete this GenCode table entry NW, and I have company records that have NW in them, I will have succeeded in blocking anybody from saving a company record that has that invalid data in it. Okay, now I have undone what I did with the GenCode record. So now at this point, I can put any value in there and the system doesn't object. If I go here where I have a table and I put a value in there, it tells me that it's an invalid value. Now, one of the things the users will run into who don't read very well is that if you screwed something up in a parent record by adding a GenCode table and they try to save a sales order for that customer, they're going to get an invalid value message just like this, and they're going to get terribly confused because they're not going to understand what it is. So you got to be very careful when you add validation. That validation takes effect immediately and can really shoot you in the foot. So other stuff that we have in the GenCode, for example, everything that's F and a number all indicates that they are file validations. We have, for example, the roles and group list is in here. These are the standard roles and groups that the system has: payables, receivable, accountants. These can be added to or removed from on a site-by-site basis. We have, for example, here's a typical GenCode. These are inventory cost adjustment codes. When you go into a catalog record or an inventory record and you're changing the cost, the system is going to say, why are you changing the cost? And you can select one of these codes. You have inventory quantity adjustment tables where you're going into the system and you're adjusting a quantity up or down. It's going to ask you, why are you adjusting this quantity? Bin count, was it defective? Was there a quantity variance? And you can set up the different variations of text that you can use to describe why you're doing an inventory adjustment. Language codes, for example, the list of languages that you're going to support in your system. The let's see what else we have. The price levels that you support in your system. The SCAC codes. These are all the standard shipping codes that are used in the EDI systems. You maintain them here in a GenCode table. Country, for example. This is a list of all of the countries that you can pick when you're setting up a customer. In addition to, and these are all ISO, International Standards Organization, country codes. In the GenCode record, there's some additional fields. You have the table name, you have the code, you have a description, and then here we store the phone mask and the ShipRush, which is the shipping software, what country code they use, and then also whether or not we accept payments via the website from that country. So you'll note that when we're in a customer record, that we get this formatting of the phone number. Now, if we would go to someone who's international, for example, here's Burkhart, and you'll notice here that this phone number formatting is different. And it's gone over to this different formatting because it's country Switzerland. So we can look over here in the country table, search for CH, and we can see that here is the phone mask for that country. So the GenCode records can have not only the table restrictions, but other information associated with a table.